Hello, welcome to JIBRIN Angle on Weleke TV. My name is JIBRIN, and this is my angle. Thank you for joining me on this monologue. On this episode today, I shall be talking about about few topics. But I want to start with the first one, which has to do with Burkina Faso President Ibrahim Traoré. As everyone knows, Burkina Faso is being ruled by a military man, a military dictator. And so far, the thing is going well. There is something I've never seen, I never read about anything he said online. Most times I saw him has always been on video, short clips, and other stuff of his demonstrations here and there. But this time around, I think in news, Vanguard newspaper is carrying his a kind of, I don't know if I would call it press release. I think that's the right word. I want to read. I've not really read it. I just read the headline, but it aroused my curiosity. So pardon me if you hear me feeling strange, behaving strangely as I read on, because I've not really read the full content of the news. So I want to read and react after the reading. But even though I have a kind of a suspicion of what he is actually talking about here. All right. It says no country has developed under democracy. This is the topic, the headline that actually um, captured my interest. And that is it. No country has developed under democracy. Burkina Faso president. Now he said, according to him, it is falsely. Okay, sorry, I think I started in the wrong place. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's interim leader. I don't know why they keep calling him interim leader. As far as I'm concerned, he is the leader. What is interim, for God's sake? That man is, I don't even foresee him handing over the reign of leadership to any crazy democratically elected president. I don't even foresee him conducting an election. I don't know, but let's see what's happening. Let me read on. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso's interim leader, has dismissed the notion that democracy is a prerequisite to development. Traoré said it is difficult to pinpoint a country whose development is attributable to democracy as a system of government. Honestly, I agree with him so far. According to him, it is false to believe any country has developed under a democratic system. The military leader said this recently during a flag raising ceremony at the Koloba Palace. He clarified that Burkina Faso practices what he called a popular progressive revolution, adding that democracy has no place in his country. Here we go. As if I knew. You see, I don't know why. This is the reason why I said I didn't. I'm so. This is. I'm so. He's so on point on this. So why? I don't know why journalists keep referring to him as interim president. Look at what he said here. So it means that the man doesn't even have in mind. He doesn't even have any form of intention to conduct an election. So he is even anti-democracy. This is great. Just look at it, adding that democracy has no place in his country. Here we go. That is it. If we have to say it loud and clear here, we are not in a democracy. We are in a popular progressive revolution. We must necessarily go through a revolution, and we are indeed in a revolution. So this question of democracy or libertinism of action or expression has no place. As much as you think you are free to speak and act, the other is also free to speak and act. And there we end up with a society of disorder. It is impossible to name a country that has developed in democracy. Democracy is only the result. Traore said. The 37-year-old military officer emerged as Burkina Faso's interim leader following the September 2022 coup d'etat that ousted interim President Paul Henri Sandaogo Damiba. All right. I think the point is made here. Now, for those of you who have been following me on this show, you will definitely understand where I am headed here. You obviously, probably you're already preempting my opinion here, and rightfully so. Yes, this man is on point. First, the people, journalists should stop referring to him as interim leader. There's not going to be any, as long as he lives, God keeps protecting him. There's no going to be any democratic dispensation under his reign. And that is it. He's just spelled it out. And I totally agree with him. And I am in absolute agreement with him that democracy is rather an impediment to growth instead of a means to growth. No, it is an impediment. It impedes growth. It deters growth, and the truth is it frustrates growth. Democracy does not have, especially in Africa, it can never be fruitful. It is fruitless. It causes more harm than good. That is just the reality. I have always been an opponent of democracy. It didn't start today. Even growing up as a child, growing up as a teenager, because I've always been interested in the polity. I've always been interested in current affairs, in what happens, either globally and especially locally in my country, Nigeria. So I have been very sensitive to all this or whatever. So, and even at that, I remember growing up, anytime I support the military, when the military were there, especially when Buhari took over, there was an excitement. Everybody was so excited. I remember when the military were coercing people, forcing traders to bring down the prices. Now they were literally forcing inflation down. So we were so excited, we were jubilant, we were so praising we were so commending of Buhari's headship as the military head of state then. And I remember one man then, he was a little bit middle-aged man, kind of elderly in his 50s, I think so. He was always shaking his head. I say, you children of nowadays, you don't even know what you're whatever. And he said, I can understand you are still young. You don't know what life is all about. That's why you are supporting the military. And that is what I kept hearing and hearing, even when as a teenager and as I became an adult, and people will say, the man, anywhere I always speak in favor of the military regime, military rule, of way of leadership, country's administration. Somebody will always say, how old are you? And I'll just tell you, say, okay, I can understand why. That's why you're supporting the military. My friend, go and sit down. Don't worry. When you get really matured, come back. Let's talk. When you say the same thing, I can now understand. But here we are. For God's sake, I'm in my mid-50s. And I still have the same belief. One thing about me, for those of you who know me, I'm a very consistent person. As consistency can be. I'm very consistent in my beliefs. I'm very consistent. That's why I consider myself as a core conservative. So, and that is just up to today and up to tomorrow. I still believe and will always believe that the democracy is not for Nigeria. It can never be for Nigeria. It can never progress. Rather, democracy is an impediment to growth. I have 1,001 reasons why democracy is inimical to our way of life. Democracy is an alien system. It's a system born out of the Western way of life. It's a Western child. They gave birth to democracy. It is their institution. They instituted it. So it is we should have our own way of governance. And that is just the reality. Our environment is not conducive for it. We do not have that civility. We do not have that enabling environment to accommodate the tenets of democracy. Democracy is about selflessness. You have to be selfless. For it to succeed, for it to prosper, for it to work well in a system, it requires patriotism, it requires selflessness. But what we have in Africa as a whole, and in Nigeria in specific term, is bunch of human beings that are selfish and self-aggrandizing, self-seeking, wicked, and insensitive to the plights of the people. Now tell me, you have this kind of people in National Assembly. You have them scattered around all political positions or elective positions. Tell me how you expect the system to grow, how you expect the country to grow, when these same people, who I consider are not even evidentially are selfish, self-seeking, self-aggrandizing, and self-conscious. In everything they do not believe in distant future, they believe in now. They are the people of now. Tell me how they will allow a civilian, a president elected, and a democratically elected president to work in a very, very credible way. They will not. Because let's even assume we have a saint. When I say a saint, a perfect man or woman as the president, democratically elected president. And we have all his ministers, which is almost impossible in Nigeria. All his ministers in line with him, in line with his ideology and vision, in line with his spirit, the spirit of patriotism and purposefulness, the spirit of credibility and integrity and sincerity of purpose. Let's even assume the entire executive has that. An assumption which is almost impossible. What about the National Assembly, where you have the House of Rep and the senators, the representatives and the senators, who are a bunch of crooks and criminals and self-conscious people, and self-seeking, selfish, self-aggrandizing people? How do you expect them to allow the president to succeed in his vision, in building roads, building hospitals, building schools, building, implementing, probably initiating and implementing policies that are for the people, that are geared towards the growth of the country and the people? Tell me. Of course they will not. As long as that whatever the president intends to do does not benefit them personally, does not put money in their pockets, does not give them the room to siphon money, to transfer money from one government agency, a government account to their own personal account. As long as it does not permit that, they will frustrate the president to a stupor. And that is just the reality. That is just one reason, one of the several reasons why democracy is not for Africa. It is not for us. It will never be for us. We do not want it. It's an alien system of governance. And that is the reason why Nigeria has refused to grow. And that is just it. Yes, the military, someone will come and probably attack me right now and ask me, what about during military regime? We had military heads of states. What happened in there, whatever? The problem is the one that actually came, the Buhari Idiagbon regime that actually came. What happened? Did they allow? Of course, they didn't allow him. They didn't allow that. Buhari wasn't the one who did it. Obviously, Idiagbon was the one who did what he did. Did the Babangidas allow him to succeed? They did not. If they had allowed, if someone like Idiagbon had spent 10 or 12 years, 10 years, like 9 years, okay, 9 years, Babangida spent 9 years. If they had allowed him to spend at least 10 years, that man, Idiagbon, could have done wonders, magic on Nigeria. But hell no, Babangida interrupted And Babangida didn't just interrupt. The West obviously were involved. That is what the West never wanted. I'll come to that anyway. I have a separate topic that has to do about the interest of the West in Africa and in Nigeria in general, and Nigeria in specifics. So that is just Buhari interrupted it. Babangida interrupted that good Idiagbon regime, and that is just the reality. In a military sector, in a dictator rulership, all we need is just one good man, one purposeful, patriotic, sincere, selfless human being to just mount the realm of leadership. The moment that person stays there and gives orders, issues instructions, the military way, everybody follows suit, no argument. Everything is done according to his whims and caprices, according to his rules. No argument, no National Assembly to debate nonsense. And that is just it. Nobody to stand, no institution that will be there to stand as an impediment to his instruction. And that's exactly what Traore is doing, Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso is doing. And that is why even the West, they even killed one of the great leaders, military leaders of Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara. He spent barely, I think, 3 years or so, between 1982, 82 to 83 to 87 or whatever. He was killed. Obviously, the West instigated that murder. That's just the real assassination. That's just the reality. So, military leadership democratic leadership cannot work for us. We will get worse under democratic leadership. We keep getting worse and worse and worse. It will never work. And that is why someone like Obasanjo have said it several times, that democracy is not meant for us. I have been saying this for a very long, even as growing up as a teenager. I've written articles about this in support of the military to be our only way of governance. All we crave for, somebody will say the military is corrupt or whatever. They are corrupt, but what at that time, let us start from at least have a good footing, have a good foundation. And that foundation is okay, military. If we all agree that, okay, military, we go with. Then we begin to talk of, okay, who in the military fits in to the real leader that we crave and yearn for. But until we take that step, we will not get there. Because this democracy that you are giving to us is a sham. As far as I'm concerned, besides even what we are practicing, what Bola Tinubu is practicing today, it's a sham. It's as good as being a military, because as it is right now, the National Assembly is at his beck and call. I wish. If the worst part is that if he were to be a good president, a patriotic, selfless president who is really out to live and die for Nigeria, the National Assembly could have been independent. At that time, they would realize, they would know that they will understand that they are independent. They will act to be independent. That's the right word. But today, they are not independent. They are stooges and surrogates and lapdogs of the president, because the president is a criminal as well. So he is a criminal. The National Assembly members are criminals. What do you expect? The head of the National Assembly, Akpabio, is a criminal. There's no argument about that. He has a case with EFCC. EFCC has investigated him. They found him wanted as a criminal who have embezzled hundreds of billions of naira. He still has a case with the EFCC. Except the House of Rep Speaker. The Speaker of the House, okay, he has not been a politician, he's been a businessman. So I exonerate him or whatever. He's someone I know personally. I don't know if I'll say fortunately or unfortunately, but I know him. We've slept in the same hotel together. We've lodged in the same because we traveled. We had a 3 week tour together to several countries. So as a result of that, we lodged in the same hotel. So and we even that on that tour, we seem to have a kind of cordial relationship and interaction. So I know him so well. Based on what I know, he's a prudent man when it comes to spending. He's careful with spending because I remember when everybody was going there, when we went out, when everybody was going on shopping spree, whatever. He was so measured. He didn't go. He's actually naturally a quiet person. But as far as I'm concerned, right now, he is also a stooge to Bola Tinubu, unfortunately. Whether he's corrupt or not, I don't. Nobody. Time will tell because this is his first political position. He's been a businessman. He's a hotelier. So we don't know much about him. But as far as I'm concerned, anybody that kowtows with Tinubu is also corrupt. So this is the democracy we are talking about. This is no democracy. It will not help us. And that is just the reality. The West has given us this democracy to impede our growth. And that is just the reality. So President Traore of Burkina Faso is right on point. He's perfect in this. And that man is doing wonders in his country within the span of 2 years. He's doing a whole lot of. I had a segment with Barrister Manta on this, sort of, and incidentally, the thing I didn't even expect. I was surprised. The thing has gone viral. That segment has gone viral, and 99.5% of all the commentaries, all the comments on that episode is 99% supports by Traore, supports the military. That's to tell you how Nigerians are fed up with this so-called sham in the name of democracy. For about 2 years, this man has done wonders for Burkina Faso. If it had been democracy, what do you think? You think the corrupt National Assembly would have allowed him to do that? Hell no, there will be one debate here and there, argument here and there, fighting in the National Assembly here and there, all the quarrel here and there, whatever, and possibly even threats of impeachment of the president. This is crazy. Democracy is not for us. It is not for Nigerians. It will never be for Nigeria because it is never good for us. Let us go back to the military era. Okay, right now we cannot go back to the monarchy or whatever. Of course, that event has taken over that. But we can go back to the military dictatorship. Let's go back there. And as we go back there, we only pray to God to give us the right person to head us, to lead us. That is the only way. With a military head of state, we can grow so fast. And that is why the West actually never liked Abacha. Abacha looted Nigeria. There's no doubt about that. He looted, but at the same time, Abacha had good intention for Nigeria. He was actually on the right course. He did so many things. He was doing some good things for Nigeria. He implemented some projects that are actually for the people. Yes, he embezzled. Regrettably, he embezzled and he gave too much power to his children that the children abused the power of leadership. Abacha did so many things wrong. There's no doubt about that. But honestly, when we talk of military regime benefits, apart from the era of Idiagbon, I don't like mentioning Buhari's regime anymore because Buhari, I now realize that during that Idiagbon time, it was Diagbon, not Buhari. Buhari didn't do it. He was docile, and he was just there as a dummy. Buhari was Diagbon was the one who did all those things. So, apart from the Diagbon regime, honestly, Abacha did the best as a military leader. Obasanjo, when he was military, didn't need that much. He was probably scared of military coup and whatever. So, and that is just it. But he tried when he became civilian president. And as a civilian president, he's the best so far. Obasanjo, as a civilian president, is the best. But as the military head of state, Abacha is the best among the military heads of states who did some meaningful things. I remember it was Abacha who instituted PTF. We know what PTF did. Even though we all agree that they were one-sided, but they really worked. PTF did a whole lot of things. Hospitals, roads, recreational centers, so many things. PTF did so many things. It was Abacha's handwork. If they had allowed that man to continue, yes, he looted Nigeria, but at least he could have done something better than what we are having today. So let's go back to the military era. That is what suits us. That is the best for us, not this sham called democracy. And this is my angle.